meeting to order. If we will stand for a moment of silence, followed by a pledge of allegiance. Okay, Mr. Reed, will you lead us in pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to start off with public comment. Just a few ground rules. If you are representing yourself, you have 3 minutes. Mr. Reed here will be our timekeeper. We have a sign when you have 30 seconds left. There's a sign that says 30 seconds, and then when your time has elapsed and you see the stop sign, please stop. I will call your name. Please say your name and your address and clearly into the microphone. Keep it respectful. And our first is Joe Kennedy.
Hello, I'm Joe Kennedy, 5658 Glade Road, Schuyler, Virginia. I wanted to comment and say that on the news of the purchasing of this property, I am encouraged and excited that the county empowers the Economic Development Authority to take bold action that's future focused and takes into account our infrastructure needs, our recreational needs, and the need for growth in the county that will support the school system for the long haul. Part of that future-focused approach that I hope the board can take is, in addition to us studying what the Alpha Wing staff transition could look like, I am going to be encouraging our board to ask you guys about also studying a standalone structure, because I think that it would be a future-focused thing that will serve the needs of the staff for the long haul. And so I encourage you to keep fighting for the future. Thank you.
Robert Gabish.
Robert Gubish, 334 Rainbow Ridge Road, the New Land. I felt compelled to come today to acknowledge your victory at the last meeting. You moved forward with passing the proposal to expand the Monroe Institute. You won. Within this constitutional republic, we use democratic principles, one of which is the majority rules. And you were a great display of that principle in action last month. Yet I couldn't help but notice that same principle, when it came to the loud and clear voice of the majority of the people in this county, and particularly the people who live in the new land, this same principle did not have any value at all. None. The three of you who voted for this expansion clearly voted against we the people who you were elected to represent. In fact, you voted against the very principle that you used to move forward with your plans. None of us truly know what you won, but you certainly won something. You wouldn't have defied months of listening to our voices without a reason. I hope you're satisfied. For what you've lost will be lost completely. How can any of us ever take the three of you seriously as a representative of we the people? You made it perfectly clear that our voices are meaningless to you. We felt like we were living in the twilight zone when you cast your vote that day. And without any explanation, none, as to why we and our voices were cast aside. But no, we are not living in the twilight zone. You are. You value something more than respect, more than integrity, more than honor. You have tainted your names and the elected positions that you hold. You can talk all you want about keeping Nelson County rural. We'll never believe you again. Does it sound like I am burning some bridges? Nope. I am realizing there never was any bridge. You three are working for something or someone that has no connection with we the people. None. You seem to have brought a taste of the corruption of Washington, D.C. right here to our county. Congratulations.
Carlton Blue.
Carlton Blue, 1 Mosby Lane, Fallbrook, Virginia. I just wanted to say that I don't have anything against this board. I think this board has the potential to be the best one that I've observed in the last 50 years that I've been observing the board's actions. I do fault boards of 40, 50 years ago because they should have been planning 40, 50 years ago to bring jobs into the county. After American Cyanamid and Al Greenstone closed, you would have thought that would have been enough to spur an effort to have some economic development that would bring jobs to the county, but it didn't, at least not enough. But you know what they say about the best time to plant a tree is 50 years ago, and the next best time to plant a tree is today. So this is about the purchase of the new land. If that land is used to bring jobs to the county, I will be the most vocal supporter of this board, and I hope that this board will accomplish what the boards of 50 years ago, 40 years ago did not. I don't know if they were more concerned about the next election than they were about the next generation, but whatever the reasons were that they deferred it or put it off or whatever, I just wish that they hadn't, and I'm trusting that this board will. For the last 4 or 5 decades, we've been educating our children at considerable expense, and we've been exporting them to the surrounding areas and then replacing them with the surrounding areas' indigents. By our focus on affordable housing, not for affordable housing, I'm all in favor of affordable housing. What I am not in favor of is taxpayer subsidized housing, because our taxpayer subsidized housing has brought in the indigent from the surrounding areas and we have exported our youth to. We were just talking earlier that of all the subsidized housing in the county at the various locations, I know of only one individual that is a Nelson County native that's inhabiting any of those dwellings. So anyway, I want to congratulate this board on at least showing some foresight in acquiring that property, and I just have my fingers crossed that it will be used exclusively for economic development and bringing jobs to the county. Thank you.
Frank Clark.
Frank Clark, 207 Ridge Street. Now let me show this board. I'm the same person in real life that I am on the internet, okay? Everybody knows that you bought the land. Everybody knows it was expensive. Everybody knows it happened before the auction. What people may not know is what's in the records. Mr. Park, you told residents the county was never looking at data centers, but my FOIA request came back with emails, reports, and zoning language of county officials and staff talking about data centers, the infrastructure they require, and how they fit into the county zone. That is the county's own file saying something different from what the residents were told online. And one email starts with the words, "back at you on the data center." Back at you? That means there was already a conversation before the email I was given. So where's the rest of that thread? While we're talking about public money, this county has paid Rutherford Enterprises $94,734 across 37 checks. That's the building tied to our elections. If everything about the arrangement is proper, the bid records, the conflict records, and the recusal should be easy to show. Same with the sheriff's office. I asked 7 categories of vehicle questions: fleet accounting, replacement justification, departmental transfers, the vehicle upfitter position, oversight, fleet assessment, and funding conditions. No answers. Not from any of you. Everybody got that email, didn't they? But nobody could answer any of those questions as the board. Y'all make the decisions on who gets what, how much money they get, correct? If the sheriff's office SUV was in such poor condition and it needed replacements, why was the same SUV good enough to transfer to the building inspector's department? Still no answers? So, this is not about the one land purchase, it is a pattern. Public statements that don't match public records, public money moving without clear explanation, public questions met with silence, then residents told to trust the process after the decision is made. So I'm putting 4 requests on the record tonight. Release the full data center records, including the missing back etcher thread. Release the appraisal and purchase documents for the land. Release the bid and conflict records for the Rutherford Enterprise lease, and answer the vehicle questions. Because trust is not built by Facebook posts, trust is built by the records. Thank you.
Stephen Bain.
Stephen Bain, 620 Farnock Climb, Ellisford. This is regarding the 683 acre property that is now under contract with Nelson County. First and overall, you should know that I believe in the free enterprise concept of jobs creation, followed by the demand and supply of housing, combined with enhancing water infrastructure. I believe in sound strategy and execution. I am concerned about our county's ability to execute. Number one, for such a property that has been in the county sites for 25 years, I requested the business plan. I was advised that one does not exist. I don't understand how that can be. If anyone envisions a strategy of jobs, housing, water, how can you possibly know that this property is suitable for such a strategy without a plan? For example, I've heard from multiple individuals familiar with the property that the terrain is quote unquote unforgiving and would be difficult to develop. Number two, the county paid $9 million for this property, which is a huge premium price. I did my own homework on this property that included speaking with the auction firm. It is not clear to me that the county fully performed its homework and analysis. The current assessed value is $500 per acre, totaling $342K. The county paid more than $13,000 per acre, more than 26 times the assessed value. You would expect to pay significantly more than the assessment, but I certainly question 26 times more. When I explored likely starting bids and likely prices paid, I was first told that there was significant interest by timber companies. Of course, the price paid for timber would be on the lower end of the range. Nonetheless, none of the estimates from my research came close to $9 million. I understand that the price paid is now water over the dam, but I think the county can do better. Number three, as you know, I'm also concerned that the county's debt is rising too much and too fast. I'm also not satisfied with debt ratio comparisons with other counties, as Nelson County has unique characteristics that any analysis must be tailored, and any analysis must be tailored to our county. In conclusion, I've been hopeful that the board majority is fiscally not tax and spend, but there is some evidence that may not be the case. Thank you.
Kevin Crowe.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Kevin Crowe, 1289 Fallen Rock Drive, Tide River. And a number of my neighbors have been following the community's challenges across the country with data centers. And we seem likely to be an obvious target for a data center here down the road. So with all the concerns and challenges to infrastructure, to energy, to water, we thought it would be a good idea to get out ahead of it. And a number of our neighbors asked me to come and just get it before the board so that we're out ahead of it a bit when, if that happens. Thank you very much for your time.
Gary Jaketic.
My name is Gary Jaketic. I live at 1033 Falling Rock Drive, Amherst, Virginia.
My wife and I have been here. Well, we built in '79. We moved here full-time from New York City in '82. We moved here because it's a beautiful piece of Virginia. It's a fantastic piece of Virginia. And I would have to say that majority of the people that have moved here from other parts of the country have moved here because of the beauty, of the fresh water, of the clean air, of the great people. Nelson County is situated so close to Lynchburg, so close to Waynesboro, so close to Charlottesville. Most of the people that are looking for full-time jobs, whether they're young, middle-aged, or older, don't look here in Nelson County. They know that they've got great jobs in one of those three areas. Well, where do they come home to sleep? They come home here to sleep. When I worked up at UVA, second shift, and I had to come home in the evening, I knew I was going in the right direction. Because as soon as I got 5 miles south of 64, there was no traffic. That's going to be changing. It has changed. Enormously has changed. It's going to change a lot more if we aren't smart, if you aren't smart about how we possibly use that land that we just purchased. I read the article that was in Google, and I got to commend you for your comment concerning the fact that you purchased it because we want the people of Nelson County to have something to say about what goes there. I hope you're all honest about this. And I hope you're all thinking what a massive responsibility this is. Massive responsibility. Thank you.
That's the end of people that have signed up. Is there anyone else burning to talk? Okay, that's the end of public comments. Consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We had a resolution that we were going to add to the consent agenda.
It's immediate.
Oh, okay. All right.
You can just,
Oh, I see. In big letters. Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. That is the consent agenda. All right. I was going to read the next resolution, R 2026-45, Nelson County Board of Supervisors Resolution remembering Robert G. Barton Jr. Whereas it is with profound sadness that the Board of Supervisors of Nelson County notes that the passing of our esteemed colleague and friend, Robert G. Barton Jr., on May 31st, 2026. Whereas that the late Robert G. Barton Jr., known by many as Skip or Bip, served as Nelson County Supervisor representing the South District from 2020 to 2023. And whereas while Supervisor Barton served one term on the Board of Supervisors, he spent 47 years residing in this community and was deeply passionate about Nelson County and its people, particularly the many students he taught and coached during his decades-long tenure at Nelson County High School. And whereas Supervisor Barton will long be remembered by this board, county staff, and our citizens for his community commitment to his county, his commitment to education of our children, and his desire to foster community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Nelson County Board of Supervisors hereby extends its most sincere condolences to the family and friends of Supervisor Barton. Be it further resolved that in respect and tribute to the memory of Robert G. Barton Jr., the county flags at all Nelson County government buildings and facilities shall be flown at half-staff on June 14th, 2026.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. Oh. Stand your ass up. It's up to you all, if you want to. No. I would want my picture.
I'd be happy to say something.
Do you want to tell me about the service?
I'll just start. Holly, thanks so much for being here today. It's so good to see you. I had the privilege of serving with Bip while on the board. He and I were kind of kindred spirits, although I would never measure my spirit against his. And I also tracked him pretty closely at Nelson County High and the effects that he had on students there. It was always such a privilege, and I just really hope that we can carry his spirit along with us in not just our decisions, but certainly in how we treat the members of our community and the young folks in the county.
And I'll save you for last, probably. I just want to thank you for sharing him with us and allowing us to spend time with him and learn from him and argue with him and be on the opposite end of so many arguments, and at the end of the day still be good friends. So it was an honor to serve with him. So thank you.
Well, Holly, your dad and I had a very special friendship. And I think we all know that, and the South District can speak to it. I can't tell you how many times me and him would have some knockdown drag out, and then I'd be at his house within the few hours having coffee with him and then talking about life. He loved his family, talks about you, talks about his boys, talks about Barbara, talks about the hippie hole a lot.
It's not the hippie hole, it's a 10-foot hole.
The 10-foot hole. And I think that there's something that I really admired with Skip, and it was, you know, his ability to have a very serious discussion and maintain a really healthy level of mutual respect for people. Because Skip, at the end of the day, he loved Nelson County. He loved its people, and he understood that, you know, in a world where there's different thought, it's important to have different thought. And I think there's something Skip said countless times. It was to think for yourself. And of course, we often love to have, I can name a myriad of debates. One of my favorite topics was hearing about No Child Left Behind. The unintended consequences of No Child Left Behind. I could probably recite it. I also can hear Skip. Oh, absolutely. Strongly opposed, and with this hand motion. Right here. Like, just like this. He would look right at you. And, you know, I have always appreciated how quick Skip was to answer the phone and usually immediately give me a hard time and then say, okay, Skip, now let's figure out a solution. And he would be all about figuring that out, even in knowing that there was going to be differences on the board and we could have a mutual understanding in how that worked. But his love for his community, his family, was something that is so remarkably admirable. I mean, the guy has taught half the county anyway, so everybody had a grade from somewhere in there, but it was an honor, and I love him, and I love you guys.
I didn't have the pleasure of serving on the board with him, but I did have the pleasure of serving in school suspension because of him. He took my hat in school, so yeah, he's very serious. It's the only one I have for him.
Well, my heart goes out to you. Losing a father is hard, especially when you're used to calling up, just ask a few questions. He I asked him before I decided to run for board of supervisors, and he just kind of like took this deep breath, and through the phone I could tell he had this half smile, half grimace. I don't think you should do that. And so, but I would, run into him since we lived almost next to each other, kind of often, and he always would take this deep breath at the end of our conversation, and be like, "I really wish you'd call Holly," but you know why. But if you need anything, you just let me know. I'm right down the road from the old stomping grounds, and even if that's just to sit in quiet or drink a beer, I'm here for you. So you're always welcome in Nelson. Yeah. Okay.
Service is this
Oh, yes.
Sunday at 2:00
At the high school.
at
in
the
the
high school
auditorium.
auditorium.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you
Thank you,
for
Holly.
coming.
Thanks, George.
All right, we're gonna move on to presentations. We got the VDOT report. Mr. Brown.
Thank you. I have a few items to report on this month, just to bring it up to speed on a few things. We have started a 4-lane primary mowing, this week. I think it looks like we're making pretty good progress on 29. That should be through very soon, but our intention is to have all of the primaries mowed by 4th of July. So they'll be looking pretty neat for the 4th of July traffic. And we should have a litter pickup that follows that. So hopefully we'll get that underway. Amanda let us know about some trees over at Rockfish Center. We're working on taking down some dead trees over there that are hazardous to the roadway. So we should, hopefully they'll get those down soon. If you haven't noticed, the 29-653 project started, which the road is closed, but that will be only through until, I don't know if it's 30 days, but it has to be opened up by the time school starts. And that will greatly shorten the length of construction by closing that road through traffic. Davis Creek Rural Rustic, that is still ongoing. We're been laying stone for 2 weeks. Hopefully they should have that pretty much completed, and looking forward to finishing that project, putting the hard surface on that road and moving on to our next project. Mr. Rutherford notified me about some storm drains over in Loviston. We're working on getting those cleaned out. Gotta get some specialized equipment in here to help clear those, but that is underway. Secondary mowing has been completed. We contracted our secondary mowing. That has been completed. Just a little information, to date, I know I reported a few months ago that we had a special allocation of pipe, designated money for pipe replacements under state roads, cross pipes. And today we have replaced 74 pipes and cross pipes under mostly secondary roads, some primary, some on 151 if you rode over those. We have made a good look at replacing some pipes that were very poor condition, and there's a lot more, but that was a pretty good initiative. And other than that, that's about all I have for you today.
Mr. Rutherford, do you have anything for Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I of course sent you email correspondence yesterday of an additional concern. I can't remember what the road was. It was last night. Simpsons Lane. Yeah, it should be at the top of your email.
Okay.
Sent to you last night.
Mr. Lanahan.
I've got the 75th pipe for you. It's on Avon Road. It's at 161 Avon Road. The culvert pipe has been collapsed on the shoulder.
Is that under the road?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's on the
Goes
road.
across the road.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. The paving on top of the after mountain at the first overlook. What can we do about that up there?
You mean the paving at the overlook itself?
Yes, sir. Yeah. It's some pretty good sized craters up there.
We'll have to get a little creative in how we can get that done. We have some county safety money that we could use. But that is also money that pays for a lot of other stuff that we do.
Yes, sir.
We'll look at how to get that done. I can't
I'm gonna
give
tell you what, it's
I mean,
heavily
I don't
used there.
disagree with you, but, you know, that's been on the agenda for a while, we just haven't really found that way to do it, but we'll work on it.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Yeah,
Mr.
I know Mr. Harvey has referred to that pothole as big enough to park a Volkswagen in
Yeah.
at times, so it's been there for a while.
I can get the hood in it now.
Mr. Reed?
First of all, thank you, Mr. Brown, for your work on Senator Meyer's pipe replacement on 29 North. That her driveway was in great need of it. We'd worked on that for a long time, and I know how hard you worked to get that done for her, and it wasn't a small piece of work. So thank you for doing that. Really appreciate it. Other thing is, we've had some discussion about the absence of the porta johns at the wayside. I thought maybe you could tell folks here what the status of those are and why they aren't there.
Well, we haven't replaced them yet. I mean, as we discussed, we leased those, or we had a porta john service. That vendor will not put any more back up there because of the trouble and the difficulty in servicing them and the damage that's been done to them. So we're gonna have to discuss that a little bit more. If we put them back up there, there's gonna have to be some measure of security up there. Because I'm pretty sure we're gonna be on the hook to pay for the replacement cost. So I haven't, that's where we're at, Mr. Reed, just being straight up with you. Don't really wanna comment any further. I'm not gonna say we aren't. But that's kind of the dilemma that we're in, is putting them up there for public use. We put them up there again, it's gotta be some control, and I don't know what that is. And probably have a conversation with the sheriff to talk about that, see if he has any good ideas, because he has a lot of good ideas. And maybe it's something we can come up with to where there is some measure of security or surveillance up there, so. Would like to replace them. I would like to put them up there, because they use quite a bit.
Yeah, and used a lot by folks in the county traveling both north and south. Obviously, that's that midpoint that works for them. So just keep us posted. Let us know how it's going. If there's anything we can do at the county here to help support something like that happening, let us know if you have any suggestions. Thank you.
Mr. Parr?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Excellent. I don't have anything either. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, FY25 audit report, Robinson Farmer Cox and Associates.
Good afternoon. Get the obvious out of the way, I'm not the face that you normally see up here. David Foley sends his sincerest apologies that he can't be here today. But does forward his regards to my name is Michael Lupton. I am a partner in the Charlottesville office of Robinson Farmer Cox. I'm here today to present our report on the FY 2025 financial report of the County of Nelson. In this 183-page document, we have 3 opinions that come from us, or 3 reports that come from us. The first is, this is a letter that's on the screen here. It's the communication with those charged with governance. We'll get to that in just a minute. But the first report is the independent auditor's report. The second report is our report as required by government auditing standards. And the third report is our report over the uniform guidance, or the federal single audit report. This letter here, again, is the communication with those charged with governance. It conveys notable items within the audit, and usually is pretty boring unless there are certain notable items and significant items to relate to you all. The first is related to qualitative aspects of accounting practices and estimates. Every financial statement has an accounting estimate in it, and the county is no exception. There are certain estimates that if they were significantly different, would have a significant impact to the financial statements. Beyond that, I'm pleased to report that there were no difficulties encountered in performing the audit. And on the next page of that document there, I don't know if I have control of that here or not. Pleased to report that there were no disagreements with management. And finally, no other significant matters to relate to you all at this time. So moving on to the financial report, on page 7 of the document that you all have is our independent auditor's report. It summarizes several things, one of which is the difference in the responsibilities of the parties involved in the audit. Primarily management's responsibility and our responsibility as the auditors. Management is responsible for the financial statements. They're responsible for maintaining a system of controls that is conducive to the fair presentation and preparation of these financial statements. Our responsibility as the auditors is to perform the audit in accordance with our professional standards and ultimately to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence to render an opinion on the financial statements. We believe we have obtained that information and have rendered an unmodified opinion. That unmodified opinion is also known as a clean opinion. Essentially what that means is that the financial statements as presented are materially correct in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The second opinion, as I mentioned earlier, is our report over government auditing standards. As part of the audit process, we're required to assess the internal controls of the locality. And in so doing, if we become aware of any deficiencies in the control process that we believe to be significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, we are required to then convey those to you all. I'm pleased to report that there were no deficiencies that were deemed to be significant deficiencies or material weaknesses when performing that process. And the final report that we have is the report over the uniform guidance. Like I mentioned, this is the federal single audit report. Every organization, entity, local government, what have you, that spends more than $750,000 in federal money is required to undergo what's called a single audit. The county, in conjunction with the school board, spent more than $750,000 in federal money and therefore was required to undergo a single audit. We audited 2 individual major programs, one of which being the Education Stabilization Fund and the other being the Child Nutrition Cluster. I am pleased to report that there were no instances of non-compliance that we encountered when performing the audit of those 2 programs individually. And that concludes the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have or relay those to David Foley for his response.
Mr. Rutherford, we're just going to go down the table.
No, thank you, as always.
Mr. Lanahan,
No, thanks.
I have one question. You said there's no significant deficiencies. Is there any insignificant or lesser things that you just easily look over, but they're there?
Yeah, I gotcha. That would be a question that's better suited for David Foley, who's the primary partner of this audit. I can certainly convey that to him for response.
Appreciate that. Mr. Reed.
I'm fine, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a great afternoon.
All right. VDOT Smart Scale application.
Greetings, Honorable Chair and members of the board. I am Kelly Rowan. I am the new VDOT Lynchburg Planning Manager. It is a pleasure to be here, and I've also brought my engineering other half if you guys have questions. I would like to present to you today just a little bit of information. I think most of you are probably familiar already, but I'm going to recap a couple different projects that you guys have for a decision whether or not they will be submitted as smart scale applications. So you can go to the next slide. Perfect. So just high level, we're looking at crash history at 29 and Route 56 or Tybrook Highway. We saw over a 5-year period between 2019 and 2024, We did have 2 fatalities at that intersection. There were also 5 crashes that resulted in serious injuries being injuries that warranted a trip to the hospital. There were also 7 crashes that resulted in visible injuries that were reported by the police. And then there were 6 crashes that resulted in property damage only. You can go to the next slide. The other intersection that we have a solution to propose via a smart scale application is Route 29 and Colleen Road. Again, looking at that same 5-year period, 2019 to 2024, that's where we have the data from. There was 1 crash that resulted in a fatality, and then again, six crashes that folks were seriously injured, and then 10 other crashes that had serious property damage. So, just to give you a sense of, these are, high needs intersections. That's why VDOT chose to look at them. And as part of an overall corridor study, these intersections were looked at. So you can go to the next slide. So as part of that overall study, they did recommend some short-term, mid-term, and long-term recommendations at both of these intersections. Some of the short-term recommendations there's already action being taken on them. Some of them have been completed. I'm not going to read through all of those, but I did just want to set the paper that's before you today in the context of, there were short-term and medium-term, and what you're considering today is the long-term improvements. So Smart Scale is the, long-term funding program. If it was awarded funding, it would likely be 6 years out from now when that funding would be allocated. So this is really starting the process of looking at completing those long-term recommendations. So the solution that the consultant team and VDOT, our engineering staff, have developed is a reduced conflict intersection. You're probably familiar with a similar treatment on 29. This would be a little bit different, but similar concept. Important things to note about this type of treatment: the only movement that it is really affecting is people that are coming from the cross streets, so from Colleen Road and Tybrook Highway. The only movement that you would not be able to do is to go straight across. That is designed to reduce points of conflict, as it's called, a reduced conflict intersection. You may have heard it called a J-turn. VDOT is trying to call it an RCI now, just to convey that. That's really the intent of it, is to reduce those conflicts. So using what we know about how successful this type of treatment is, we would anticipate at Colleen Road, the 17 crashes that happened over the last 5 years, they wouldn't go away entirely. We think that they would, our goal, what we would, say is this successful would be, was it 8 or fewer? And then similar at Tybrook Highway, we would think that number would a little bit more than cut in half, that they reduce fatal crashes by 63% and a 46% reduction in property damage crashes. So that's what we think would happen. You can go to the next slide. I'm not going to read everything on here. I do encourage folks that are in the room. VDOT has some really great videos and information about RCIs, also sometimes called an R-cut or a J-turn, and how to navigate them. What I wanted to point out when I included this is that we did go back and model a long-term kind of assessment of delay, looking at the operations, what that would do to people's travel time. And so folks on average right now, 2026, are waiting about 30 seconds to turn. With this improvement projected out, and that's at the peak, so at the busiest, it would add at most 45 seconds to a peak hour trip. And that's not to the waiting, that's really for the travel time that it would take to go up and make a U-turn instead of cutting straight across. Again, that's reducing points of conflict. We like to point that out, just so you guys can understand, like, what that would really mean for somebody's daily trip. They might go 1 minute and 15 seconds versus 30.
So for clarity, you're saying right now they're waiting 30 seconds?
Yeah.
That's once we get to the stop sign?
Yes.
Oh, but not the few minutes it takes to get to the stop sign.
No.
Just putting that out there. Then you're saying now we're going to 45 seconds. So you're saying 45 plus a 30, or we're additional 15 seconds?
It would be 30 plus the 45.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
do you want to add anything to that? This is our assistant traffic engineer.
Matt Connor, assistant traffic engineer. Just want to clarify for the delay time that's involved in this is your time spent stopped is actually going to be the same or less. Your time spent getting to that same point on the corridor is what's going to take a little bit longer time. That additional time is going to be the time to travel upstream to the U-turn and then back down. But overall time spent waiting, stopped at a location to enter the traffic stream, we found would be approximately the same or a little bit less than what it would be under current conditions.
Yeah, because everyone's going right. So you're not waiting for people to that are waiting to go all the way across.
And you're also not conflicting with other vehicles that are also trying to use the same crossover, like you're doing right now. You may hear someone trying to make a left turn from the main line, come across the opposite direction from the main line, and you're trying to also go across and left. Well, that's a lot of movements that are trying to go through one crossover at the same time. This separates them out so that you really want to focus on one conflict at a time.
Thank you.
And that's just a presentation. That's not what you're suggesting there, right?
That's a generic.
All right, because crosswalks across 29, I don't think that's going to really work.
This is a generic VDOT template of what movements occur in an RDOT, but not the specific ones at this location.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to go back, you can pull up that would be the actual.
Okay.
This is, again, I want to make the point, this is conceptual. That would be in an application for funding. The actual design, the engineers have not designed it. So, there are tweaks that could be made. There's small adjustments that can be made as long as they don't change the cost plus or minus 10%, I think is the threshold that Smart Scale has. But so, there are, hydrology and other elements that haven't been taken into account, and all that gets ironed out in the design phase.
So much to say, but I'll wait. You can plow on.
So I did want, Candy asked me to come and present to you guys. We held, board member Parr asked, I really want to get a pulse of the community, on this project. So we held a community meeting, just a couple weeks ago. We had 23, oops. That was my timer. I was trying to keep it at 10 minutes. We had 23 members of the public come. 21 of them were Nelson County residents. 2 people said they were at a VDOT meeting for the first time. 6 people checked that box and didn't write yes or no, so I included them. They maybe were no. 14 people gave us emails and 5 people provided phone numbers. If any of you wanted to get in touch with those folks again, I can provide that. Actually, I think you included it in the meeting packet, so I may have redacted the emails though for security. Next slide. So we developed an exercise to ask folks, where along the spectrum of support are they for the RCIs, and we split the 2 intersections up. And so this was at Tybrook Highway. Do you support? You can see the results, but it was, about 50% of people opposed fully or mostly, and a little less than 50% of people fully supported or mostly supported. There was one neutral. You know, it wasn't super strong either way. You can go to the next. This one was a little bit more neutral. So this was at Colleen Road. There were a handful more people that felt, I don't really know. You know, I'm neutral about it. It might work there. And then there was a little bit more support for this location. We then asked folks after, so we kind of had the room set up. They could walk around and look at, you know, the project sketches. We had engineering staff there to answer any questions. We had the video of the RCI video that VDOT has generated, just like this is how you would navigate it. And then we asked folks after they did the dot exercise and said, hey, you know, thinking about why you voted that way, can you go fill out a comment card on how you're feeling? So I just summarized the kind of key themes. People were really worried about speeding. That shouldn't be surprising. There were concerns with the RCI about U-turn operations and queuing and potential backups on 29 or other conflicts during peak travel periods. Again, we modeled that and didn't see any of that in our modeling, but you know, we can continue to tweak the design. People were concerned about the sight distance and visibility issues, which was addressed in that study, but this project, it does not address at this time. I would say overall, kind of like how the dots were, it was mixed opinions. I talked to some people who were like, I think this would be great. This person I know was in an accident, and then other people said, I think this is too much. We should do something, you know, a little bit lighter. There was a really important feedback that, you know, we need to, when we're doing the final design, be accommodating some of these extra large vehicles. There's lots of farm equipment that comes through here, and be looking at the future development in the corridor. So I've kind of put at the bottom, some of the concerns could be addressed during design. I don't think, you know, any of it was, you know, any super extreme either way. There were questions about, couldn't we do this? Couldn't we do that? You can go to the next slide. And I kind of put together, you know, we went back and thought about that. People were asking, can't we just lower the speed limit? Well, you know, it's generally accepted in the engineering world that people drive the speed that the road is designed for. And so just to like drop down the speed rapidly, people don't tend to adhere to that. And that's not me saying that, that's lots of research saying that. People also ask, well, couldn't we put a stop sign in the median, or, you know, something less intensive? The median is not wide enough for trucks to wait. And so if they're doing that now, it's not safe anyways. The RCI would give enough room for those, you know, longer vehicles to make that U-turn. And currently stoplights are not a tool in our toolbox either. Traffic volumes are really too low. You know, maybe in the future that becomes a reality, but.
And I can expand on that
yeah.
one a little bit too. Route 29 is part of VDOT's arterial preservation network. So in 2017, VDOT adopted this arterial preservation network policy, where the goal is to maintain mobility on certain routes that are designated in that network. Since that time, it has been the state's goal to limit the installation of traffic signals on any roads that are on the arterial preservation network without first looking at other alternatives that can provide the benefits that we're looking for to get on traffic signals. And this one, the goal isn't necessarily as much to provide operations. You know, people having significant issues getting in and out of the road from a weight standpoint, but it's more of an issue with the safety component with the angle crashers. And so that's one of the reasons why the RCI was selected as a long-term concept here, to just because it separates those conflict points onto different locations and minimizes your likelihood of having those overlapping conflicts. And, just reducing the number of crashes in that area is based on spreading out the movements.
So excuse me, I've got a question on that. The presentation says that the grade adjustment's not included in the project at the time. It seems like that's a critical piece of this. Why is it not part of the project now?
What specific grade adjustment?
The grade adjustment for the sight distance on the 2956 intersection.
I mean, that's not necessarily related to the RCI concept. But I don't know that I can speak to that on site distance. So.
And I've only been here for a few months, but my guess would be probably the cost would be significant. And so Smart Scale is a statewide competitive program for funding. It's great. There's no local match, but it is competing statewide with other projects. So it you have to balance the benefits with the costs. So I would imagine that regrading would have been a significant cost.
Okay, so in order to qualify at a higher level, that was left out of the project.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there an opportunity to reconsider that if this is approved?
I mean, I think it's something that probably could be reconsidered, but I'm not the designer. I'm not the be designing the project. It's more looking at the crash numbers is my role, so I can't really speak to that.
So you can make project changes. They just have to be within a certain percentage of the total overall cost. You can make changes outside of that. It just has to go back and be rescored. So they're gonna then take that additional cost and then your benefit score, and they're gonna now divide it with your new cost and then see would you have still gotten funded, and if no, then they'll say, no, you can't do that. But there is a process, there's a whole change committee that's at a central office.
So when you're considering the possible tweaking of what that might look like, since you don't have the final engineering done, is there a possibility that that could be included in there if it could be done within a certain percentage of the cost or something?
Within a certain percentage of the cost,
Great.
yeah.
Okay.
What's the cost of this project?
So this one, the two RCIs are, and this is an estimate, are 19.8 million. So you could go,
2 million.
yeah, a couple million over.
Yeah.
Again, without knowing what the significant, what the grade actually is and how much work it would be to change that grade, it's really hard to say, what that would accomplish.
Yeah, it's a good idea to talk about. When we put these applications together, they'll put together to be the most competitive that they can be. When you add other features outside of the initial concept of making the intersection safer, like improving the grade around 56 and 29 southbound, that additional cost would make the surprising less, was scored less, not scored for the increased cost.
Yeah, so that's
Got it.
kind of just the denominator in that equation, and then it's giving you a scope. You have a benefit divided by the cost, and then that's going into a big spreadsheet with all the other projects throughout the state. Then the region also gets a certain set of money that those numbers will compete just with regional projects. That is, less significant amount of money. So again, it's really designed cost to benefit, and that was why they created that program. But it does kind of constrain the ask that can come.
One thing I want to add, just from a traffic perspective as well, is with the RCI compared to the existing condition, I don't use type specifically as an example here. That's because that's the area where I think you're talking about site distance concern. If you're trying to go across into the crossover now, you're pulling forward at a slow pace in order to stop or yield again in the crossover. If you are using the RCI, you are able to accelerate directly into the lane that takes you downstream. So you don't have to slowly make your way across to prepare to stop or yield in the crossover. You can accelerate, get out of the way of traffic, oncoming traffic by getting into that, inside turn lane that takes you down to the U-turn location. The movement will be continuous right into that lane from your stop. So just to help clarify the movements.
Go next slide. So there's a second project that has been proposed, and this is Route 151, at Rockfish School Lane, and it's adding a turn lane. This was conceived up to improve safety and traffic operation. You'll have, I think it's the recycling center back there, and, you know, several things that citizens need access to. And so this, I will say, you can go to the next slide, had it 100%. Everybody thought this was a great idea. Seems like a no-brainer to our public meeting participants. And that is also being proposed as a smart scale application. Again, you know, that competitive cost benefit program. And that there's a paper before you as well today to say whether you support that application. So I think that's my last slide. Yeah. So we're here for questions. Ask them.
I want to do the easy one first.
What do you think's the easy one?
Rockfish.
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 Oh, I see.
Everybody I've talked to in my district is all for it.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, let's approve it.
2026-47. Right here.
How about this?
Do we
I'm
have-
entertaining.
Are they both in one?
No, they're
No,
separate.
Okay, we do
separate.
have separate, yeah, I can't find 47.
I'll
There,
entertain
I
a
got it.
motion for R 2026-47.
Second.
No,
You make the
motion.
motion.
So moved.
We
Uh,
What the hell's the damn?
just it's right. Don't you just have to say it? I move that we approve R 2026.
I approve that we approve R 2026-47.
All right, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? Hearing no, yeah, we will roll call vote this.
Mr. Radford?
Yes.
Mr. Lincoln?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Parr?
Yes.
Dr. Liggett?
Yes. All right. Do we want to chat about the Colleen thing first before we
Sure.
entertain a motion?
Yeah.
Well, anybody have any questions for her? Hearing none, let me have things to say. I have talked to a lot of people about this intersection, and people are passionate one way or the other. It is very few in the middle. I've even talked to probably 10 state police officers, and they are just as passionate one way or the other. It has not been helpful at all. I drive this corridor daily. My husband has a business on the other side of 29. He's running through there.